Creations Knitting Podcast. This is episode 27, and I finished my Bendy Arrow shawl. This is a shawl by Charlotte Bory, and a lot of people are doing it. So here is, let me untangle it for the rest of my yarn. Here is the finished product. My lighting today is really poor. I've got lights on in the room, but I've got windows open, lights on, and it's just not recording real well today with the brightness, because it's stormy outside for like the third or fourth day in a row. So with all the overcast, it's just kind of dark in here today. But anyway, I did finish this like 2 days after the last podcast, and the pink color in this is called Frolicking Feet by Done Roving Yarns, and the colorway is Barn Door. The gray is Queensland Llama Lace Melange, and the colorway, it just has a number, it's 01, but it's actually like a steel gray. Here are the tags from it. Here's the first one, Frolicking Feet. Let's bring it down a little closer. It's not going to want to focus. Here, that's the one. The other is Queensland Llama Lace Melange. And I'll start from the beginning of this and show it to you a little at a time. There, it starts at this end. It did not turn out as large as I thought it would. I think next time I would do it on a little bit larger needles maybe. But I did enjoy it. It was a fun knit. It is a unique shape. But I have been it's really soft, and I have been wearing this a lot lately. And this is looking kind of reddish. It's actually a rosy, kind of a rosy pink color. So, yeah. So this is my Bendy Arrow. And when I blocked it, I actually used some of those weights that I made from my husband's fishing stuff, from his fishing weights. So I will insert a picture of this while it was being blocked with the weights hanging on it, so you can kind of see what it looks like when it was being done that way. So I'll put that picture in right here. Okay, the other two things that I've worked on, well, actually 3 things that I've worked on this week. If you recall, I had a sweater that had been in my tub of shame because I had messed up the sleeves, and last week I had taken the sleeves off, and here is the one side still has the sleeves off. This side, I'm working on the sleeves. I'm doing this in Magic Loop to do the sleeves with, and the funny thing is I had heard about Magic Loop for years, didn't know what it was. I went on a YouTube tutorial. Watch Barbara Knit did a thing on Magic Loop. And so I went and looked at it and realized that I had been doing that way for years. I just didn't know that's what it was called. So anyway, I'm using Magic Loop to do the sleeves. And the sleeves are much smaller than they were before, because this is a dropped sleeve sweater. So the shoulder that's right here actually comes down probably about to here on me. It's, yeah, my shoulder for real is about here on the sweater, so all of this is actually part of the sleeve. So this should come out somewhere around to the elbows, or just a little below, almost like a 3/4 length sleeve when I'm done. I am finding that I'm having, because I'm making these sleeves not as big around, I am having a lot of this yarn left. Now this is not self-striped yarn. This is actually 4 different skeins that I put together, so I'm having to literally change color every time I change color on here. So I have lots of ends to weave in that's inside the sleeve, so you can't see them right now. And anyway, so I've got a lot of it left. And I think if I have enough, when I finish, I'm going to maybe rip out, if I'm going to redo this sweater, might as well redo it well. So I'm going to possibly rip out the edge here, and I'm thinking instead that I might make it a little longer and do an I-cord for the bottom instead of a ribbed stitch. I might do I-cord. So I'm not sure, but if I have enough, it's going to depend how much is left. If there's enough to go around, I might make it a little bit longer sweater, because right now it's a shorter type of sweater, and I would prefer it to be longer, but it'll depend on how much I have left over. So this is what the yarn looks like. They're just like magic knotted all the way through. So this is my ball. So I'm having to unknot them as I go and take off the excess. Because like I said, I'm not using all of the colors that I wore before. So that's the sweater that I've been working on. Then I have my Forever Fade, and it is literally turning into a Forever Fade. I feel like I have been doing it forever. This is what I have left. I'm probably about halfway through the ball of yarn for the with the Sunseeker, Cascade Sunseeker yarn. Here is the fade for this week. You can see where I left off last week, right here. And I have finished all of the solid color, and I'm actually, right here, I'm into the second row of lace. There's, I think it's 18 rows of lace in this section. So I'm in the second one. And I used to take this with me to work and work on it during my lunch hour. Well, my lunch half hour, but anyway, I would work on it, you know, as soon as I finished eating, I'd sit there and read and knit at the same time. But this thing is getting too big. Well, you can see it here. It's getting kind of bulky to be hauling around in my pocketbook. My pocketbook is like my rolling office anymore. Because I'm on a bookmobile, I have to carry everything with me. So I have a big tote bag. I have lots of tote bags. But anyway, I have my tote bag, and it's got my water in it, it's got my lunch in it, it's got a book that I'm reading, it's got whatever yarn project I'm working on, plus the stuff that you normally carry in your pocketbook. So it's weighed down, and that's just getting to the point it's spilling over the top. So, yeah, I need to find a different project to carry with me. I've been actually working on my cozy memory blanket and taking it with me because my blanket is smaller than my shawl is right now. The other thing that I have been working on, like I said, is my cozy memory blanket that I'm turning into a sweater. And I had hand-dyed some yarn last week that I had done with food coloring. These were two of the balls of yarn that I had. And I've incorporated those two so far into the sweater. They all are going to get put into the sweater eventually. I just hadn't gotten that far. But I thought I would show you what they look like. Here is the red one. This is what it looked like in the ball, and this is what it looks like knitted up. And then here's the blue one, and here is what the blue one looks like knitted up. So I'm real pleased with how they look once they're knitted. And this is what the cozy memory shawl or sweater looks like at this point. I have 30 squares on it so far. No, I do not. I have 25. I counted wrong. No, I do have 30. Yeah. 2, 3, 6. 6 by 5. Yeah, I have 30. Just doesn't look like it there. But anyway, there's 30 so far. This would be 31. This is the starting of the next row. So that is my blanket that's turning into a sweater, and I know it's going to be a very bright, hopefully it doesn't come out looking clownish by the time I finish. You know, if worse comes to worse, it will just turn into some kind of shawl that hangs around the house. But my thought with it was, if I make it into a blanket, what am I going to do with it? It's just going to sit on the back of a chair someplace and not match anything that sits in the rooms, because I don't have any rooms that are done in this color that it's going to go with. And I thought, well, at least if I make something that's wearable, at least it'll get some use. And hey, this will go with just about anything. Lots of options there for colors. So we'll see. But I don't have to even worry about that till it gets a little bit bigger. So that's what I've been working on with my cozy memory blanket. And then along with the dyeing last week that I was showing, that I had done it with food coloring, I was talking with Jamie on Cozy Up with the Stitchin' Sisters. If you don't watch their podcast, they're a lot of fun. It's four sisters, but there's usually 2 to 3 of them on the podcast. And she and I were talking because we both homeschooled our children. Now, she's my daughter's age, so, yeah. But I homeschooled my kids when they were little. And we were talking about the dyeing, and I said, it reminds me of the science experiments that I did with my kids when I homeschooled that usually tended to turn into one of those don't let this happen to you type of moments. We kind of learned our science by mistakes we made, and apparently I was big into exploding things. I'm not quite sure why. Yeah, I was fun as a homeschool parent. Yes, let's explode things, and we always did it in the kitchen. I don't know what I was thinking. We did this one experiment that it was a balloon, and you were supposed to put it over top of a boiling pot of water, and the steam from the pot of water was supposed to keep the balloon up in the air. Apparently our balloon and pot of water ratio wasn't quite right because the balloon fell into the boiling water, popped, and shot boiling water all over the kitchen. Then we did the film canister explosion, which was, the little film canisters back when, I don't even know if they still have them because we have everything digital now, but little film rolls would come in these little plastic canisters. And you were supposed to put vinegar and baking soda together, put the lid on, shake it up, and then set it aside, and it was supposed to build up pressure and like pop open and shoot all over the place. For some reason, I thought that would be a good thing to do in my kitchen sink. So there we are, shaking up this canister, throwing it in the sink, and all of us standing back like this, waiting for it to go off. I don't know what I was thinking. That was not the most brilliant of things to do. And thankfully, I had the formula wrong, so it didn't explode, which was a good thing. But we learned from our mistake, and after that, well, no, I can't say I didn't really learn from after that, because we made soap in the kitchen, and I am going somewhere with this long story. It's leading into our book of the week, but I made soap. We decided that would be a good chemical experiment for our homeschooling science project. So when you make soap, you have, it's lye, water, and a fat source. So you can buy lye, you can make lye. What lye is ash that you drip, like percolate water through, and the substance that comes out from that is liquid lye. So I bought lye from the store. Of course, we had water, and I didn't want to use meat as a fat source because that can really smell nasty, and who wants to bathe with that? So instead I chose Crisco vegetable oil, which is like better. Your soap comes out looking white, not nasty and smelly. So when you put all these things together, it causes a chemical reaction. It's called sopnification. There's an old story that says that there was some kind of a sacrifice of some sort going on at the top of a mountain. So there you had your foods, you had a meat source or fat source. It was on a bonfire, so there was your ashes, and when it rained, the fat and the ashes mixed together with the water and ran down the hill to where the women were washing their clothing, and the women noticed that it would suds up a little bit. I don't know if that story's true or not, and that's how soap was invented. I really don't know if that's a true story, but it sounds really good. But anyway, the process is called sopnification, and what happens is when the water source gets together with the fat and the lye, it causes a chemical reaction, and it heats up without a heat source. So when you mix them all together, you've got to have an oven mitt that everything, or a hot pad that everything's sitting on, because the bowl will get very hot. And you have to use glass. You cannot use, you have to use like a glass or ceramic mixing bowl. You can't use like an aluminum pot. I found this out the hard way, because the kids and I put all the stuff together, and we're watching this reaction take place, and the bowl's getting hot, and all of a sudden the aluminum was coming off of the pot, and this pot starts turning into this bubbly, silvery, boiling cauldron of sludge-looking stuff. And I'm looking at it, and it's like, you can't dump it down your sink because it will solidify. You'll have solid soap running all the way through your plumbing. So here I go, grabbing the cauldron and yelling for the kids, open the door, here I come. And I go running out of the house, holding this steaming cauldron, running out into the front yard, put it down in the grass, and all three of us are standing there watching this thing continuing to bubble and go over, and all of the aluminum plating on the bowl. It was my pot that I used to make iced tea with. Yeah, it was completely ruined. It like ate everything off that was shiny off of that pan. And it burned the grass. It even turned the grass brown. That's how hot the thing gets. I mean, it's like up to several hundred degrees. So that was my soap making experiment. Oh, and the other thing that's interesting with soap is if you make it homemade, it has to sit because it's toxic or caustic for 3 weeks. So you have to sit it in a dark place till it like cures. Kind of makes you wonder what it does to your skin. But yeah, I did make soap. We didn't keep that batch, of course, but I did make some soap a couple of times and put some like essential oils in it and stuff like that. And it was fun, but you just had to really be careful. You can't breathe in the fumes because they are caustic. They can literally catch your breath away like ammonia can. So all this being said is because the story that we're doing this week, it is a series that is no longer being printed. It's a completed series. Okay, but the very first book in the series is called Lie, L-Y-E, Lie in Wait, and it's about soap making. This series was called The Home Crafting Mysteries. You can still get them. The last book, which is this one, came out in 2012. The author of this is called Cricket McCrae, and there was a total of 6 books in the series. The main character in the story is named Sophie May Ambrose, and she is a soap maker, and she has a studio in the basement of her house. And she makes soap and lip balms and like hand creams and like, you know, that type of thing. So that's where I was going with my soap making story, was to lead up to this. So they are a really cute series. They take place in a town called Katyville, Washington, and every single book is a different craft. So the first one is Lie in Wait, which is about soap making, and you learn a little bit about the craft in each of the books. So the second one is called Heaven Preserve Us, and it's about putting up preserves or, you know, canning, you know, that type of thing. The third one is called Spin a Wicked Web, and it's obviously about spinning and knitting. The fourth one is called Something Borrowed, Something Blue, and blue is spelled B-L-E-U. It's about making cheese. That, I think, was my favorite one out of the whole series because I always thought cheese, I've never made cheese, but it sounded like it would be fun. The fifth one in the series is called Wined and Dined, and it's about making home, you know, your own wine at home, which I don't drink, but it was still an interesting story and to find out the process of how it was done. And then the last one was called A Deadly Road to Hoe, and it's all about gardening. So they're a cute series, and Sophie May lives, like I said, she lives in a house. She has a basement that's her studio, and she has her best friend and the best friend's daughter live with her in this house. So it's like the three of them get together to solve these mysteries. So they're really cute, and like I said, you learn a little bit about a different craft with each of the books in the series. The last one, like I said, was printed in 2000 or published in 2012, but they are still available. You can still get them like on Amazon and stuff. So they're a really cute story. Your local library might still have them. Mine had some of the books, like I said, the other ones I couldn't get hold of, but this one I did. So that is by Cricket McCrae. And like I said, it's called The Home Crafting Mysteries. And check them out. The last thing I wanted to talk about, we have a knit-along running, and I think I've already shown everybody the prize. There's the project bag with the project markers, or with the progress keeper and the stitch markers. and a skein of primrose yarn. So I am actually extending the cowl because I was talking to the ladies on Three Sisters Knit, which is another podcast. If you don't watch, it's a nice one to watch. And that one, it was originally three sisters, and one of the sisters has passed away. So the two sisters that do the podcast are Sheila and Margaret. I had given them a pattern, and they really surprised me because they announced on their podcast yesterday that they are doing a knit along with the shawl as well. So that being said, I'm extending my cowl was due to end the end of next month. It was going to end June 30th. I'm now going to extend that to July 30th, so it kind of overlaps with their cowl. Their cowl is running from June 15th to August 31st. They're also offering a prize of a project bag and a skein of yarn. So, that being said, if you enter in mine and you finish it within the time period theirs is running as well, you could enter in that one as well. So you might be able to double dip if you want to. And if you are watching Three Sisters Knit and you're coming over to check out my podcast, you're more than welcome to double dip into my knit along. The coupon code to do the shawl is KC20, and the shawl is called Banner Unfurled. I will put the link in the description box below. If you just click on the Ravelry Banner Unfurled, it'll take you right to the pattern, and put in KC20, and that will give you a 20% discount off of the pattern. And that discount runs through the end of the year. I mean, if you're watching my podcast, you're welcome to get the discount, just because I really appreciate you watching the podcast. The other thing I wanted to tell you about with that pattern, if you have already gotten it, something that the Three Sisters Knit noticed, and I did not until then, was the supply list is missing off of the actual pattern. It's on the description in Ravelry, but it's not on the pattern itself. So I did go in and revise it so that you should be able to check your mailboxes, and there should be a correction in the pattern where it will tell you, just in case you still needed it, what the supplies are. It is listed on Ravelry what your supplies are that you will need, but the revision was made. So, yeah, so if you haven't done it so already, please join in with our knit along. You, like I said, will have a chance with mine, and if you enter over at the Three Sisters Knit, there's a chance over there as well. And their podcast is really enjoyable. I think I've watched it almost since the beginning, and what drew me to them in the first place is they tend to knit a lot of shawls. And if you watched me for any length of time, you know that I love to knit shawls as well. So, that's why I started watching them. And they're enjoyable. They're a lot of fun. They're somewhere in Canada. I'm not real familiar with Canada, so I couldn't even take a guess at where they're exactly at. But they're somewhere in Canada. But yeah, they're a lot of fun. And so I really appreciate that they are doing a knit along for the shawl as well. So I thought I would, like I said, just extend ours a little bit so that the times can overlap in case they want to participate with ours or we want to participate in theirs. That being said, also, I have an Etsy shop, and I was looking at it the other day. I've got some stuff that's been there for a while that hasn't moved, and so I actually put everything on the shop on sale. There is a discount. I just marked everything down that was in the shop. So if you haven't checked it out, or if you have and there's things you had your eye on, you might want to give them a checkout now, because I have marked everything down, and I just did that the other day. So my link to my Etsy shop is also down in the description box below, and check it out. And I guess that's it for this week. I hope all of you that are mothers have an absolutely wonderful Mother's Day. And I will see you again next week. Thanks again for watching.